Let's talk about the fertility diet. All right. So I'm Dr. Miranda Naylor. I'm a board certified functional medicine doctor specializing in women's hormonal health and fertility. And today we're going to talk about the fertility diet. There is so much confusion out there about what to eat, what not to eat, especially when it comes to your fertility. And so today we're going to break down the basics, talk about what is actually true in the science and what evidence is showing, and what is false. So you can really feel confident and rest assured that you are doing the best for your health, for your fertility, and for your future baby. So let's start with some of the basics. To start off with a template of what is really best to eat for your fertility. The evidence points to the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet has the most evidence behind it to show that it is helpful with fertility outcomes, with pregnancy outcomes, meaning the health of our pregnancy and how our baby is able to come out healthy and thriving. Now, what is a Mediterranean diet? The Mediterranean diet is basically a diet that's emphasizing fresh, whole foods with a lot of variety of plants. So lots of vegetables and fruit, as well as things like beans, legumes, having lean meats in there, lean proteins. That includes vegetarian forms of proteins, as well as fish, particularly fatty fish, ideally low mercury forms, such as salmon, trout, sardines, anchovies. So that acts as a template of really what to be eating and how to be eating. Again, ideally less processed foods, more whole foods, and a lot of variety and color of plants. Color in the plant world means antioxidants. Those colored plant pigments are different types of antioxidants that can help different things in our body. So it's really important to get as much variety as possible so that we're getting all the different types of antioxidants that our body needs to combat damage, free radicals on our cells, which includes our sperm and egg cells. Particularly orange pigments in the plant world, such as sweet potatoes, carrots, different types of bell peppers. These are incredible for supporting our ovaries and sperm health. So those are great to emphasize as well. Dark leafy greens, beets, as well as nuts and seeds. All of these things are fantastic for your fertility. Let's talk a little bit about types of proteins. So I mentioned that getting a good amount of protein is important, and particularly having more lean meats, fresh fish, but also having plant forms of protein. Now, you definitely don't need to avoid animal sources of protein. Getting a mix is actually shown to be best. So this could include soy products. Soy is another one that has been villainized in certain communities, but getting non-GMO organic soy can be a great protein source, and having that mix of animal sources and plant sources of protein has really been shown to be the best. Animal protein can be a great source of iron, which is another a really important nutrient for our fertility. So having some red meat in the mix can be great. Again, ideally grass-fed, organic, really healthy, high-quality sources. Let's talk a little bit about organic. It can be important, an important aspect to try to have organic produce as much as possible. Pesticides are heavily used nowadays, and getting organic doesn't necessarily mean that it's completely perfect, but it can limit some of the pesticide exposure that could be on certain foods. I do recommend checking out the environmental working groups Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. These are their lists of the most heavily sprayed foods, the foods that absorb the most pesticides. Those are the Dirty Dozen. And the Clean 15 are the produce that tend to be lowest in pesticide amounts. So you can make a really informed decision when you're at the grocery store of what you're choosing to get organic and what you're, not worrying about. So these lists change every year, but usually it's about the same theme that the thinner skinned fruits and vegetables, particularly things like berries and cherries, are more susceptible to pesticides and are better to get organic. Whereas the thicker skinned produce like avocados and bananas don't matter as much if you're getting it organic or not. So you can still make the choices that feel best for you, but those are some things to think about when you're trying to limit your pesticide intake. Another thing to avoid or to be aware of and mindful about would be a lot of excess sugar. Sugar can increase inflammation, and so it's something to be mindful if your diet is including a lot of sugar, if you have processed foods that have sugar included, and it's something that's good to be mindful about your intake of that. Caffeine. So I'm not here to take anyone's caffeine away. Don't worry. Coffee and tea have a lot of great benefits to them, particularly including their antioxidant amounts. Coffee and tea are both really high in antioxidants, so it's fantastic. But caffeine itself, that chemical that helps us wake up and stay awake, can negatively impact pregnancy outcomes. But this is particularly when we're pregnant, particularly in the first trimester of pregnancy. So when we're trying to conceive, you don't necessarily need to be too worried about your caffeine intake. But because it can impact pregnancy, if you are actively trying, I do usually recommend limiting or being aware of your caffeine intake. And ideally, we're getting less than 100 milligrams of caffeine in pregnancy. So something to maybe start weaning down on if you are getting a lot of excessive caffeine throughout the day. Of course, can also mess with sleep, which isn't ideal. And then alcohol. So alcohol is not nutritionally essential. So it's not something that you ever need to do, but of course it is something that is widely used in our social interactions. And there aren't any clear studies to say that absolutely you can't have any alcohol. Of course, binge drinking, having several drinks throughout the week or in especially in a given day, then that does have negative impacts. I do recommend people again, try to scale back, limit where they can, especially if you're actively trying to conceive, really being mindful about how much alcohol you're taking in. This is both for female and male, and really try to keep that to more of a minimum, really on special occasions. And then let's talk a little bit about supplementation, because nowadays it can be really hard to get all the nutrients that we need for fertility and for healthy pregnancy with diet alone. So some key strategic supplementation can really help uplevel your fertility and your pregnancy outcomes. The first thing I recommend is a really high quality prenatal multivitamin. Again, this is for females and males. So typically it's called a prenatal for women, and for men, it would be a high quality multivitamin. My favorite for these are Needed. They have a really comprehensive prenatal multi that comes in capsules or powder, which really gives some good flexibility for your day and your routine. They also have an essentials that is a little bit more refined down for those who have a really hard time taking supplements or who are more sensitive to taking certain nutrients. They also have a men's multi, which really covers all the bases for what men need to optimize their fertility. And let's go into a little bit of what the details include with that. So that would include a good amount of methylated folate. That would be real folate, not synthetic folic acid. And methylated because many of us have a harder time activating B vitamins, that process called methylation. And so I typically recommend taking a methylated form so it's already activated and so you can really utilize it at its best. I'd also recommend a methyl B12 or methylcobalamin, which again, another really highly usable source of B12, which is also essential for our overall health and fertility. I recommend having a good source of B6. It's also called P5P in certain forms. It's an activated form of B6. Getting a good amount of that, super essential for our overall health and fertility. Zinc, especially for men, is really important. It's actually required for the sperm to enter the egg. It's called the zinc spark. If you haven't heard of this, look it up. It's fascinating. But all to say that zinc is essential for both female and males when they're trying to conceive. I do recommend having a good amount of vitamin D, particularly D3, as well as iodine, calcium, magnesium, choline, which is really essential for the baby's brain development. Iron can be helpful if you are low in iron. Not everyone needs extra, but particularly iron bisglycinate can be a great form to take if you are in need of iron. Omega-3 fatty acids. So we talked about getting them in our diet with fatty fish, but taking additional fish oil in a high quality form can be really helpful as well. And then probiotics, which could come in a pill form, or this could come in the form of foods, fermented foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso. All of these amazing, fabulous foods are great sources of probiotics as well. If you really are trying to make sure you're getting the right kinds of probiotics, the right kinds of bacteria for your gut health, for your vaginal health, then getting one like Needed's pre and probiotic can be a great one that's really supportive of the female vaginal bacteria, which is great for the baby's health, as well as supporting gut health. So those are the core principles of an optimal fertility diet plan that I recommend. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And if you want more detail, I have a free fertility food guide that I'd be happy to share with you. It'll be linked below. And this will include details about what proteins to choose, different plants, the key nutrient elements to look for, and what foods you can find them in. So it'll give you a lot of more detailed support with what to look for and really how to design the most optimal fertility food plan for you. Because it really also depends on the foods that you enjoy and what you like to cook and all of that. So you can really help design what's going to be best for you to optimize your fertility, optimize your pregnancy outcomes, and optimize the health of your future child. I hope you find this helpful. Please be sure to subscribe to get more videos just like this.